I'm probably gonna be.
It's too old. It's not numbered, so.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I didn't have time to make an extra trip back down here to ask them.
What I did, I did text you. I mean, text my phone call. They just had to do that because they get this come out of it for me.
I'm leaving there.
It's ridiculous.
And probably will not be back till
If it was
They
2
always
weeks.
used to punch it. It should.
Well, the baby's gonna come. The baby should be born here. Because they said they weren't gonna let her go over the 5th. I don't know. This other side. But,
But you won't go past here, so you know for sure.
yeah, Emery said, wait till about the 7th or 8th. So Johnny and I are going to 8th. Johnny will come back here, and I'll come back here.
Yeah.
2 weeks. I figure that's.
And
And I may be ready to come back with Johnny, you know, and if they're doing fine, there's no need. But then you spend that money for a ticket, and you have not to stay a little while and bond with that baby, with the baby being so. Yeah.
she'll be.
Okay. I got my flight booked, my tickets are ready, so I got all that done.
Yeah, I have a few questions. I'm trying to understand
We had
what
cheer
exactly
competition
what
this
are we
weekend,
playing
and
Is it Jordan's first competition?
Let's call this meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the Zebulon Board of Commissioners meeting, January 9th, 2023. Hope everyone had a safe and peaceful holiday. Pledge of allegiance. Commissioner Harrison. Thank you. Next, we will have the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the
I
agenda.
have a couple of things I want to pull from consent first.
Commissioner Miles,
If I can pull the ordinance 2023-21, the shop with the cop appropriation.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
Ordinance 2023-21, shop with the cop appropriations of donations received. And also pull Public Works Resolution 2023-17, Sydney Creek Phase 1B Infrastructure Acceptance. And I'm not sure where this should be pulled or not, but I'm looking for the minutes for November 17th, 2022, so I don't know how that should work.
November 17th or November 7th?
November 17th work session minutes, do we have that?
I see December 15th, November 7th for regular meeting, December 5th regular meeting.
So we didn't have a work session on the 17th?
He's wondering.
Oh, they were not complete by the time this was done. They were still being worked on.
All right, thank you.
so those will be under new business, under A.
It'll be item B under
Item
new
B.
business, please.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion, well,
Go ahead.
Bev made
No,
a
go-
motion.
Go ahead.
So do we make a new motion?
Yeah.
or-
Yes, Beverly would have to amend her motion to approve the changes.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passed. Next, we have school recognition. I don't think he's here.
I don't think either of them are there. If you would like, you could always wait and see if they come in later with the time change. And you could do it towards the end of the meeting if you would choose to do so.
I'll give him a few minutes. Next is public comment. Has anyone signed up for public comment?
No, sir. And nothing was sent in.
Next, we will have the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Before we second, so will we see those November 17th minutes later on in consent somewhere?
You'll see them at another meeting. Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
We have a motion. We need a second.
I'll second.
Questions, discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. New business, Parks and Recreation, public hearings, fee schedule amendments. Oh, call the public hearing to order.
Public hearing, yes, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to hold this public hearing this evening. The information before you is in regards to fee schedule amendments related to the special events standard that you adopted in November. We did post the public notice as required in the Wake Weekly, and we've attached a copy here to the right. The fee schedule is a mechanism of your annual budget, and you hold a public hearing when you adopt your annual budget, and so making this revision to the fee schedule, we are also holding a public hearing. The event standard as adopted in November 2022 identified associated fees for things like an application, permit, late fees, and other items. And what the fee schedule will do will authorize us to charge these associated fees. So it recognizes that there are new processes where there are new fees that would not have been accounted in your previous fee schedule. It also includes your rental rates for town hall and the municipal complex. It also identifies off-duty rates and addresses some after-hour staff rates. I did receive some questions from Commissioner Miles today, and there were two that stood out to me that I would like to just mention, and if there's any others that you would like to ask or discuss. So one of the questions that I received was in regards to use of the municipal complex on Fridays, and that as it was specifically stated that rentals could not start before 6 o'clock, and half-day rates were it stated it was for 7 hours, whereas the rental period on a Friday would only be able to be 5 based on the operations of town hall. And these were previously approved rates by the board, and we were pulling it into the fee schedule and the event process based on discussion from the board. And so my understanding is that the intent was for that Friday to be the half-day rate, and so I could understand the confusion there, and just at adoption, you would want to acknowledge that Friday would be at the half-day rate, but it would only be for 5 hours. The other item was in regards to fees associated with assistance for mailers. I did not recall when I met with y'all last week when I said there shouldn't be any surprises, and so I do apologize for the surprise. I added in the fee schedule the cost associated with if the town had to do the mailer and charging a fee for us to administer that. That came following a situation with a prior event where we just wanted to make sure that if the responsibility is on the event planner and the private organization, that if the town needed to do it, we had a mechanism to reimburse the town for doing such. And so that's what that added fee is, and we would, if you were to adopt this, we would update the event policy to recognize that. So I do apologize for
What type
that
of mailer
surprise.
is this? Is this,
To notify of any street closures and
Okay.
detours from the event, yes. If there are additional questions, I'd be happy to answer.
What has been the staff rate in the past? Has it always been 1.5 times?
So the staff rate at 1.5 times is for after-hours rate. So like if you have to pay staff overtime, the goal is to just reimburse the town for the cost that you incur. So we didn't, in the fee schedule prior to this year, the Parks and Rec Department didn't really have a comprehensive rate. There was just this flat rate of $20 that had been there for who knows how long, and doesn't really reflect the actual cost that the town would incur from like FICA and other taxes and other expenses. It also doesn't recognize like after-hour or overtime rates that would be incurred, and so that's what the time and a half or after-hours is, and that is consistent with what you see in the Public Works fee schedule for staffing.
Anyone wishes to speak in favor?
I have one more question, Procedure.
All right, Commissioner Miles?
Can you just give a brief scenario of how these fees came about? How do we come out the fees? How the fees were determined, just in a small scenario, somewhat?
Yeah, generally speaking, we always try to look at, in any fees that are associated, what is fair, what is reasonable, what is market rate. So, you know, you don't want to necessarily do something just because another community is doing it, but try to recognize that when people have choices when they're looking to do things, and so you want to be consistent with the market as much as possible. And so generally speaking, that's how those fees were identified. So not always the case. I mean, we also look at what the actual cost to the town would be. We're seeking to just cover the town's expense for the implementation of these events.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Commissioner Boxer?
No.
Commissioner Miles?
No.
Commissioner Clark?
No.
Commissioner Harrison? Commissioner Laux? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone wishes to speak against? Is there anyone wishes to speak in general? Hearing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Thank you. We have a sample motion.
I recommend adoption of ordinance 2023-22 fee schedule amendments.
A second?
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Commissioner Laux?
In favor.
Commissioner Harrison?
Favor.
Commissioner Clark?
Favor?
Commissioner Miles?
The closure request is Friday from 6 to 11 p.m. and Saturday 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. There was an interdepartmental team that has reviewed their event requests and identified expectations of the applicant, and the applicant will have to sign the road closure for events agreement and work closely with the Zebulon Public Works Department and the Police Department to close the public right-of-way and oversee the event. There will also have to be coordination with the Planning Department to ensure coordination with downtown businesses. The event applicant has not requested fees to be waived. The event applicant is Norris Brewing. Because we had a St. Patrick's Day event last year that was on Horton Street, and we knew that there was interest from both of these parties to do an event. We tried to work with both parties to work together collaboratively. The goal was to not drown out each other's events, that if you were holding an event on Horton Street with bagpipes, it would very easily drown out an event just on the other side of Horton Street. And so we felt it best that they work together, and they've agreed to do that. And so we are looking forward to answering any questions that you may have in regards to the closure of this alleyway. All expenses related to the street closure would be the responsibility of the applicant.
So that's going to be Norse Brewing, it's going to be Norse Brewing and McClellan Bagpipes.
However they choose to title the event. The event request
Came
that
from
was
Norse.
the application came from Norse Brewing.
So since it came from them, ultimately, they are the ones that are going to be responsible, regardless of how they decide internally to work it out.
Yeah, unless there were, for some reason, they wanted to contract the nonprofit to do it. I mean, if that's something that we needed to discuss. But as far as we understand it, Norse Brewing plans to move forward with the St. Patrick's Day event. Should that not be the case, we would be able to work still with the closure with the bagpipes.
So this is a request to close Horton Street from Arundel to Church, as well as the alleyways?
No, it is only a request to close the alleyways.
Okay, well, then the resolution is incorrect. The town of Zebulon will support this event by closing the section of West Horton Street from North Arundel and North Church Street, Fort, the St. Patrick's Day event. I just want to make sure that we're clear as far as what we're resolving to do.
That whereas should not be there, and I do apologize for that. Now therefore, the town of Zebulon approves the request to close the alleyways within the eastern 100 block of Arundel Avenue on Friday, March 17th from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. and on Saturday, March 18th from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Could we please spell March correctly as far as March 18th?
Yes,
Okay, and we're going to be removing that last whereas entirely?
correct.
And so can you explain a little bit what is going to be going on both of those days? There's going to be music on Friday and then a market on Saturday, but yet the market only goes till 4, but we're keeping it closed till 11. Could you help me understand?
So on Friday, and there's a map that was included in there you go. So they have a staging area, and Friday from 7 to 10, they plan on having a smaller band. On Saturday, they plan to have music from 12 to 10 as well. And so it's just a small acoustics from 12 to 4, and then a smaller band from 7 to 10. And they're requesting 8 vendors to be in the alleyway.
Run through that one more time. Friday from 6 until 11, it's going to be closed, and from 7 to 10, they're going to have a band.
Correct.
And then Saturday, starting at noon, they're going to have a band?
Yes, a band from 12 to 4 and a band from 7 to 10.
And their vending area, or the vendors are going to be there from 12 to 4.
Correct.
And then the actual breakdown is not going to happen until Sunday?
That's what I was trying to, as well, Sunday morning, it's where we're gonna have to close it down Sunday morning as well.
Right, because if we're just closing it until 11 p.m. and they're not breaking down until Sunday, are we opening it back up, and is it going to be safe to have it open with stuff not broken down?
Yeah, I don't think the intent is for it to not be broken down until Sunday. If in the agreement that we'll have, they'll need to break that down when the event is over. We would not want it to remain the next day.
Okay.
Commissioner Miles?
So with this, so this is basically a grand opening, or is it a St. Patrick's Day event, kind of like a collaboration of two?
Their original intent when they submitted this application originally was for it to be a St. Patrick's Day event and an opening, but they have run into some construction deadline changes, and so they will not be open at the time of the St. Patrick's Day event.
Okay, thank you.
But at the time of the application, that was their plan.
And the consumption of alcohol is going to be solely contained in the alleyway where it's currently allowed anyhow?
The consumption of, just one second. Within the way the resolution is written, it says the town approves distribution and consumption of alcohol within the event grounds during the event operating hours, if you choose to authorize that.
Solely on the eastern 100 block of Arundel, so just that area that
Just those-
currently,
those
where it's
alley
currently
areas.
approved.
Yes. Well, not just that, you've got that alley behind the buildings on Eastern.
All
Or
right, do you have a
Eastern.
map so that we could look at?
Yes, the map is in front of you.
All right, mine doesn't have any roads or anything on it. It doesn't have any alleys. It just has, is there a different one, or did mine not print correctly?
It's not showing up here, so I do apologize for that, but I will try to walk you through it. So, the area where you see this block right here, this is an alleyway that goes this way. So here, this building where it says temporarily closed,
Yeah, thank you.
it says it's temporarily closed, that's the building where Norris Brewing is currently looking to go. And so between that, like where the fall line and Muter Construction, that's an alleyway. And then where you see this square where they're looking to put the stage, there's an alleyway to the right of that. That goes behind like Pinafore, Functional Fitness, and the other.
So there are essentially 3 sections of alleyway that you would, that the request is to close and allow alcohol consumption.
Yeah, they're looking to close the alleyways from Vance to Horton, and then the one beside the fall line. That's where they're looking to have this event.
That is one alley from Vance to Horton.
It shifts
It is-
over, yes.
Yes, but it's still this one alley.
Commissioner Miles?
One question for me is this, okay, I know the application they had about the bathrooms. Now I'm a little, kind of get a better understanding of the bathroom usage. Originally in the application, they said that they would be utilizing the bathroom from the inside. Now that they're not going to be open, what do they have to, is there kind of a plan for that?
So the email that I received from Norris Brewing is that their hope is that the bathrooms at the interior of their building would be available. They're prioritizing the construction of that to be ready for St. Patrick's Day. Should that not happen and that not be an option for them, because I'm not sure if that would be an option from them from an occupancy standpoint, but should that not be an option for them, then they'll be required to have porta-johns.
So they're hoping
Excuse
to
me.
have the CO by then?
It was, for me, I didn't get into whether or not their bathrooms would actually be open and if that was feasible, because at the end of the day, we're going to require that there be bathrooms, whether they are permanent bathrooms or portable bathrooms. We are going to require that they have bathrooms for their event.
Okay.
Commissioner Harrison?
So with this application originally being their grand opening, is there a timeline now for the grand opening, and now will they come back before us for another request to close the alleyway when they're ready to do their grand opening?
I'm not exactly sure what the deadline or what their expected opening date would be, and I would not want to speak on their behalf to say whether or not they're going to want to come back and do something else again. I think that's for them to decide if they want to submit an application or not. They've not indicated that they would, but that doesn't mean that they're going to come back.
Commissioner Miles?
So will there be a cost associated with the town in any way from us? Will there be a cost on our behalf?
They have not asked for the town to waive fees, and so they will have to reimburse the town or pay for the fees associated with the closure.
So that's going to be public works and everything, then sounds like that.
Yeah, for
And
the
police.
time and the equipment for shutting down the street and the amount of off-duty officers that Chief Boykin determines is necessary.
Okay. And then one thing I see that on their application also, they're requesting that we promote their event from via social media. Is that how that's going to work too?
No, we would acknowledge a street closure.
Okay.
But the intent for a private event is not that we're going to promote their event. Just because they put the request in there does not mean we're doing their marketing for them.
Okay, is that something we should let them know or just, just at your?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
One last one for me. So they'll go back and redo the application and make sure that it shows that who they are collaborating with back, and it says they are partnerships. That's going to be on the application too, or that won't take place?
It'll be a contractual piece. It's not changing the event request to close down the street and the street closure. So when we finalize the contract with them, if you approve the closure, we'll just make sure that that's included in the document.
And they're not, they don't have to have any kind of insurance or anything, correct, for that, like, to cover that?
Absolutely, they would have to have insurance.
Okay, I'm asking.
That's standard in your street closure.
Okay. Thank you.
In the future, I'll make sure that the map has the better names on there for you. That was what was provided to us. So in the future, I'll.
It just didn't copy over
Okay.
correctly, because this one that Lisa gave me
Yeah,
has
you can
kind
see
of,
that better.
it's just, it was printed in very light yellow, so when it came to us, it doesn't have any of the streets.
Gotcha.
Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Baxter?
No, I'm ready to make a motion.
Any other comments, questions? Commissioner Miles?
None for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Harrison? Commissioner Laux?
Glad to see it.
Is there no other discussion? Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-18?
Go ahead.
Commissioner Baxter?
I move to approve Resolution 2023-18 as amended.
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Miles. Discussion? Roll call. Commissioner Laux?
Favor.
Commissioner Harrison? Commissioner Clark?
Favor?
Commissioner Miles?
Favor.
Commissioner Baxter?
Favor.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Shop.
Oh, yeah.
Shop with a cop would be your next item, sir.
New business, shop with a cop, Commissioner Miles.
I will. Thank you. One quick question from me. This program seems to be a huge success, and rightfully so. I see where there are private donations accepted and was wondering what the process was for private donations. How can citizens donate to this specific event? That's all.
Designated process laid out where there's instructions for people to follow. I had one gentleman who handed me $40 while we were in Walmart. We do receipt those when they come in. I didn't give him a receipt that night because he just pulled it out, well, his wife pulled it out of her pocketbook. Generally, people come up to the police department and make either a cash or a check donation. We receipt it at the police department and then turn it over to the finance department for recording. And in the future, we'll come to your house and pick it up or whatever we need to do. We're so grateful for the involvement of our community. We initially selected 20 kids to receive the Shop with a Cop program, and in the end had a request from one of the local schools where some of the kids didn't get picked up on their angel tree, so we jumped in with those as well. So total of 24 kids.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Next item. Will we need to vote on that item? Vote. We need a motion to vote.
To accept ordinance 2023-21.
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Miles, for second. Discussion?
It's a great program. I see how it's benefiting the community. Keep it up, Chief. Great job. Thank you.
Any further discussion? We'll start with the roll vote. Commissioner Baxter?
Approve.
Commissioner Miles?
Favor.
Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Harrison?
Favor.
Commissioner Laux?
Favor.
Resolution passes. Next is the Sydney Creek.
Once again, I pull this. Just one quick question for you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Pollution prevention and good housekeeping. Can you explain that for me, please?
Yes, sir. That is part of our stormwater plan. Our MS4 permit basically is a program that's fed down from the federal government to the state government. It has 6 characteristics of a stormwater program you got to meet. A good housekeeping and pollution prevention program, or things like inspection. It's things like cleaning your infrastructure. We have goals to inspect 10% of our infrastructure a year. We have goals to clean 10% of our infrastructure a year. It goes as far as street sweeping. It goes as far as documentation that the chemicals that you put on the grounds, whether it's fertilizer or pesticides, are documented. Your operators are trained and licensed. It means doing annual inspections of town facilities to make sure that good housekeeping practices are done. That, for example, vehicles are not dripping oil. Their stuff is contained in, like, if you have used oil, that they're in containment areas. It covers a wide variety of good practices that are recommended in the stormwater system.
Thank you.
Questions, comments concerning Sydney Creek? We'll need a motion.
I move to approve 2023-17.
Thank you, Commissioner Baxter. Thank you, Commissioner Miles. Discussion? Commissioner Laux?
Approve.
Commissioner Harrison? Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Miles?
Favor.
Commissioner Baxter?
Favor.
Resolution passes. Thank you. Board comments? We'll start with Commissioner Laux.
Just 2 quick things. I'm looking forward to 2023. This is a growing, prosperous town. We have more events, a lot of things happening. And as you heard tonight, please remember Friday and Saturday, March 17th and 18th, the St. Patty's Day party, and we can welcome Norse Brewing to town.
Thank you. Commissioner Harrison?
I have no comments, Mayor.
Commissioner Clark?
Just that we have a happy new year and have a productive year with our town board.
Commissioner Miles?
Well, this is rather surprising. I do not have much to say except for Happy New Year and all, and I hope everyone had a happy and healthy holiday season. And I also want to express appreciation to law enforcement today on National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and to invite folks to attend the Citizen Police Academy starting Thursday, January 31st. Space is limited, so register soon. I have my spot. And lastly, if you don't follow our Park and Rec Department on Facebook, you're missing out. There's always something going on, and Sheila and her team have recently published and posted the Winter Parks and Rec Guide and have opened up registration for spring sports. So go follow them on Facebook and get involved. That's all for now, folks. Unity through community.
Commissioner Baxter?
I'd really like to extend my gratitude to both the police department and the fire department for making sure our New Year's Eve was smooth and safe, and I would also like to say that as we move forward into this new year, there's going to be a lot going on, and I encourage everyone to make sure they understand our new meeting schedule. I know I'm having a little bit of difficult time with it. And we'll be meeting at different times now. So please make sure that before the meeting you understand when it is. Hey, John, we're almost done. Welcome. All right, so Happy New Year, everybody.
I'd like to ask, are you going to do the student recognitions, or what are your plans for that?
Yes, I was going to do those.
Okay. And the second thing for Commissioner Miles, I looked at the agenda, and the November 17th minutes were adopted last month in December.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will do the school recognition for the student. Zaltori Torres Hernandez is an outstanding student in the 5th grade. She shows up to school each day ready to give 110%. When it comes to character traits, she has many positive ones. She conducts herself with integrity and kindness, always willing to assist her classmates. She is an exemplary role model to those around her. We're so proud of her and delighted to have her in our class. She is one of a kind. The town of Zebulon recognizes Torres Hernandez, Wakeland Elementary School, for being an outstanding student and role model to her peers this January 9th, 2023. And our teacher recognition, teacher is Miss Brittany Coco, is a phenomenal music teacher. She goes beyond her daily instructional duties to provide our students with enriched musical opportunities. Her positive attitude and positive work ethics are contagious. She always looks for ways to assist with school-wide implementations and is very problem-solving oriented. Ms. Coco has written and received several grants for musical instruments, field trips, opportunities, and materials to enhance our students' learning. She plans community engagements for our students and their families. Thanks to her, our 5th graders were able to be the opening act at the Zebulon tree lighting event. Ms. Coco leads a weekly after-school music in school program for our students. She is amazing, and we're lucky to have her. The town of Zebulon recognizes Ms. Brittany Coco.
The first one will be on January 26th, Thursday in the evening from 5:30 to 7:30. It'll be like an open house type format in the lobby here at Town Hall, where we'll invite anyone and everyone to come, where we can give them some information on the project and solicit their input on what they would like to see in the project. We have invited our partners in the project from Wake County, Facility Design and Construction, as well as our partners with Wake County EMS, and the architect will be on hand as well to talk about some of the different elements.
So you'll be emailing that to us, Chris?
I can, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Now I'll recognize Planning Director Michael Clark to provide you with the monthly development update.
The board. While we didn't get any significant new applications this last cycle, we do have a couple updates regarding some development projects that are under construction or about to be under construction. As we know, there was a situation at Popeyes recently regarding a gas main break. However, we reached out to them, and it sounds like they're still anticipating requesting a temporary certificate of occupancy the end of this month or early next month. This will allow for them to begin their training process and to start the stocking process in order to bring in the necessary equipment, materials, and everything else. That way, when they do finally open, they'll be able to in time. So we'll be looking early summer for when Norse Brewing Longhouse is open. A perennial question of cookout has resurfaced, and last December they formally resubmitted for construction of a cookout at the vacant parcel. Nearly a year and a half back, there was a modification to the streetscape grant. Prior to that, streetscape grants were only available for non-for-profit organizations, but there was a revision that allowed for businesses to acquire those. As such, one business did take advantage of that. Haircraft received a streetscape grant for $1,250, and that was submitted last May and was finally completed with all the invoicing and everything else in December. So those funds were finally dispersed. And thank you, Commissioner Laux, for participating on the committee that reviewed that application last spring. Finally, the Wall-Purdy tract, which is adjacent to Weaver's Pond, is originally submitted, is submitted for joint public hearing later on this month. We've been in conversations with the applicant, and they have once again requested postponement. At the work session, we'll be providing you options, being that the hearing has already been noticed, notification went out. It is something that the board will have to take action on to postpone or defer or take some other action on as opposed to a staff action. But all of that documentation, the official letter from their attorney arrived late this afternoon, like 4:30 this afternoon. So we'll make sure that we have a copy of that letter as well as what your available options are for you to take action at your work session. And with that, I am available if you have any development questions.
Commissioner Miles?
Lounge 96, where do we stand with that, Mike?
That site plan has been approved since last fall, but there's been no action on it as of now.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Comments? Thank you.
And finally, to conclude the manager's report, I'll just provide an update and an overview of the work session that will be coming your way. Just as a reminder, as Commissioner Baxter pointed out, we've got new meeting times. So your January work session, while it remains as the third Thursday, which is January 19th, it begins at 5 p.m., which is an earlier start time than is typical for work sessions. As far as the items or the topics, you'll receive a Board of Adjustment information. The Board of Adjustment is responsible for granting variances or making judgments on zoning code cases. The Board of Adjustment is not the only way that the town can conduct this business, and so the staff will bring before the board some options to, other than a traditional Board of Adjustment, to administer these statutory responsibilities. The second topic is related to our continuing matriculation into the Main Street program. The town needs to adopt an organizational structure before it can become full members. And so staff will bring before you an organizational model based upon your feedback from a previous work session. It provides not only the structure, but some roles and responsibilities to consider. Third topic, as we are using work sessions for, rather than attaching quarterly reports at regular meetings, we're having a more interactive face-to-face discussion, and your next quarterly report at that work session will be from the police department. And then the final topic is special event policy. We will update you on how a couple of events have gone since adoption of that policy. One, a public event, the Candy Cane Lane and tree lighting, as well as the Christmas parade. Also, at a previous work session, the board had requested that the policy be brought back before them in order to provide staff any additional direction. And then while this is not a topic necessarily of discussion, as Michael Clark pointed out, the applicant for Wall Purdy has requested to postpone the joint public hearing. That is an action that the board will have to take, and so that will be an action that we will put before the board, and we'll provide you all the alternatives associated with that action. And with that, that concludes the manager's report, and we stand available to take any additional questions you may have.
Mr. Harrison?
Thank you. Joe, could we please, in the essence of all the different time changes and everything, could we please have Stacy update those invites that she put on our calendars, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Questions, comments?
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is closed sessions per North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A6. Would consider the performance of an individual public officer. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
We go into closed session for personnel discussion.
Second, thank you, Commissioner Miles. All in favor? Motion passes.